Hey, ALSD, welcome. I see many of you are still joining right now. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us for today's webinar titled Innovating Premium Ticket Sales and Service in 2021 and Beyond. We've got a great group of panelists for you. We're going to cover both the status of ticket sales, fans, league protocols, and schedules at their respective venues. And we've also got a resident video expert from Vidyard, who was a partner at ALSD Virtual, to talk about some solutions that your team might be able to use for communications now and in the future. So without further ado, and also noting that this is the first time we've seen many of you since ALSD Virtual, and we're looking to roll out new benefits in 2021. So keep an eye out for that. I'd like each panelist to introduce themselves, starting with Nick. Nick, could you give us your name, title, and organization?
Hello, everybody. Nick Warchek, Vice President of Ticketing, Premium, and Suite Sales for the St. Louis Blues, Enterprise Center, and Stiefel Theater.
Thanks, Nick. Chris?
Hello, everyone. This is Chris Bailey, Vice President of Premium Seating Sales and Service for the Utah Jazz, Salt Lake Bees, and Vivint Arena.
Cool. Love the Salt Lake Bees. And next up, Kelly, round us out.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Diamond. I'm the Customer Marketing Manager at Vidyard.
Thanks, Kelly. So I want to get right into it. Also, if you are in the audience, you'll see a Q&A at the bottom. Please send those throughout the panel. We'll also have a dedicated little portion of Q&A at the end. We're set for 40 minutes. We can go over a few minutes with our panelists, but I'll try to insert your questions as follow-ups if I can. To start us off, Nick, what are some of what's your current situation as it relates to the NHL schedule and potentially having fans back next season at Enterprise Center?
Well, I'm sure most of you have seen it, but ESPN and our other partners out of Canada and what have you have reported that we basically had a Board of Governors meeting yesterday. Sounds like we will be starting hockey up on January 13th, looking at around 28 home games right now, looking at back-to-back games when we play. So, and we are in completely different divisions. So there's a Canadian division. We're actually going out west, playing a lot of teams out west. So a lot of late nights for Blues fans on the road, watching road games. But that's where we stand right now, waiting on the schedule to come out. We think that'll come out within the next week or so. And just planning to pivot in terms of having fans, not having fans, how that'll all look. And, looking forward to getting down to business again.
Chris, the Jazz are one of a couple NBA teams who are having fans back to start the season. Could you tell us how that looks and how you're thinking about the phases of reopening?
Absolutely. Thanks, Max. Well, it looks a little bit different every day, to be honest. It's certainly been an ever-changing environment for us trying to get this thing off the ground a little bit. But the way we're starting is we rolled out a 4-phase plan to our season ticket members and partners and premium members. Phase 1 of that plan will run from December through January and is going to include 1,500 fans in the building. What that includes is 25% capacity in our suites. 6 of our 8 clubs are open. We'll have no fans within 30 feet of the court, and we will have only the lower bowl open. And our fans are super excited to get back. We didn't want people to get out of the habit of having season tickets or having premium tickets. And so even though it's small, we wanted to start with something to keep people's minds engaged and excited about the season. And so our response has been really, really strong and really great. That's phase 1. Phase 2, we're hoping to get up to 5,000 to 6,500 fans. At that point, we'll gradually open more. And then phase 3, we're hoping to get to 12,000, which is what our season ticket base is, which would allow every season ticket holder to come back into the building for all the remaining games. Then phase 4 would be NBA playoffs and getting back to full capacity. That's the hope and the plan. We've drawn it up with the health department, with the NBA. We feel pretty good about it, but we're excited to get things rolling. That will start with opening night, which is December 26th here in our building. and we'll go from there.
And for those in the audience who may not know, the NBA released half the season schedule, right?
That's correct. Yeah. First half of the schedule, December through March, and then a 2-week break. And then they'll release the second half of the schedule here in the coming months for March and beyond.
Got it. Nick, obviously, it's still very ambiguous as far as timelines and, like Chris said, updates on a daily basis. But in the meantime, you've got to do something. So what are the strategies and tactics that your team's using to keep in touch with your premium customers, and to sort of maybe help you answer, are there any what's the biggest change that you've seen internally since COVID started and throughout this whole process?
Well, to kind of take everybody back, everybody kind of remembers, the faithful day, actually, Utah Jazz player, I think, got us all started, so to speak. But for us, March 11th happened for us. Jay Bowmeister was a key player on our team that was pivotal to our Stanley Cup championship, and he actually had cardiac arrest. And this was our return game on March 11th, and we actually were one of the last games in sports to be played out. It was a great game for us, won the game, and then next thing you know, our whole worlds were turned upside down. We had already been out with renewals from the ticketing world on the suite side of the business, had many big time conversations. We're getting ready for our playoff run, just like a lot of us all were, or we're getting ready to start our leagues that are, obviously listening in right now. And a tactic we changed, and what we did is we leveraged our title run for all of our season ticket holders to launch multi-year deals across the board, all price levels. And we're able to leverage that. We did very well with that. So once the pandemic hit, we knew kind of a little bit more, hey, this thing wasn't a 2-week deal. It was going to go on for a bit. We reached out to everybody right away. We didn't care about, collecting a check right away and things like that. Obviously, we had already gotten their commitment. Our concern was really about, how are they doing? How's their business doing? How are they doing personally? And really try to have a conversation over the phone with every client possible. And, I think that was something we jump-started from the get-go. We've maintained that throughout, but I think just trying to find out how somebody's doing personally and not caring, about the money when it comes in and whatnot has been really a key to us. Shows that personal relationship side. And that's what we're about with that. As it relates to changing, we had stop payment plans after a few months, just like many of the other teams I've talked to in the NHL, NBA combined, and obviously trying to work with different clients. We had a significant waiting list from our title run that we were able to leverage. So any different clients that at that point in time said, hey, listen, I don't know what our business is going to do. Our business is not doing well. We need out. We then went to that waiting list to fulfill and sell out our crowd back to 100% capacity. So able to do that. Now working on building that back up as we speak. And then, as it relates to 2019 and 2021, we had completely separate plans and conveyed those messages, whether it was credits or money back, things like that. That's obviously been different. Now, really, it's a concern. How's your business doing? Do you want to come back if we're able to? And as we, turn the page and hopefully do similar to what Chris is on a limited capacity basis, we want to try and take care of as many season ticket holders as possible. So if it is a back-to-back scenario and we have a lot of these season ticket holders, and let's say our capacity is anywhere from 1,500 to 3,500, we want to allow each of them to buy maybe one of the 2 games, to try and fulfill that and obviously try and streamline it so our season ticket holders feel the love. So.
And I know you mentioned on a previous call that there's also a certain segment of corporate customers that do want to keep their budget with you to preserve that budget. So there are a number that are asking to continue to pay, right?
Yeah, which we were, I think a lot of, depending upon who you spoke with or not, obviously when people want to have their plans, we kind of came out with a plan for 2021 earlier on. We felt comfortable with it. We thought, and after talking to clients, they're used to keeping the money on the books or keeping their budget going, their Q4 dollars and what have you. So for us, it was really, we thought it would be a little bit more difficult conversations at times. And for organizations and companies that couldn't afford it or there's no way, we're working with you. We'll create a plan or scenario I mean, we're in a pandemic. This has never happened. So, you have to relate to everybody's business, everybody's person. But there are so many companies. I mean, we were probably 70%, if not more now, collected on all leaseholders, full payments. So, I mean, that's a big dollar amount that, we were kind of surprised, but, they understand it. They want to keep it on the books. And that's why we approached the way we did.
Makes sense. Chris, I'll ask you the same question as far as strategies and tactics. What's the biggest change internally? And then I've got one follow-up question from the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the biggest changes that we've had to deal with is the employee base. We've unfortunately gone through 3 different rounds of layoffs and furloughs here in order to kind of stay in line with what's happened to our industry. And so there's been quite a bit of shuffling as far as responsibilities, approach, client management, things like that. And so that's probably been the biggest challenge through this whole thing is, one, obviously losing people you care about, seeing coworkers impacted, and then not making sure that we don't miss a beat with our clients in regards to communication and the rollout of the upcoming season at a reduced staff. And so that's certainly been a challenge. But from the beginning, we have said that we don't want to make any decisions that impact the long-term relationships we have with our partners. We're in a fortunate situation where we've had great retention over the years. We have a very strong season ticket base, a very strong renewal base in our premium areas. And so every decision that we've made through this, we've run it through a test. Basically, we kind of came up with 3 guiding principles. Early on, there was a lot of indecision and some difficulty making decisions. And so we created a few guiding principles that every decision had to pass through. First was health and safety. We weren't going to make any decisions that jeopardized the health and safety of our employees, our fans, our players. The second was protecting the base. And so we weren't going to make any decision that caused immediate pain or discord amongst our clients and then could impact our long-term financial well-being. And so everything we did, we asked ourselves, does this have the potential to damage the relationship in immediate that's going to hurt us in the future? And then the third is we wanted to minimize exposure, financial exposure. So as we made decisions, we asked ourselves, have we explored every possible innovative means to limit financial exposure, which would mean keeping money on account, not trying to avoid the risk of losing clients in the immediate, having them cancel based on concerns. And so that was part of the phase plan that we came up with, is we decided that we didn't want clients we wanted to try and keep clients from opting out for the entire year, with the hope that at some point during the season, more and more fans would be able to come back into our building. And so as we've rolled this out to our partners and people have had concerns, we've tried to put the focus on each individual segment, each individual phase of our plan. So as clients have said, and suite owners, club members alike have said, hey, we don't feel comfortable coming back right now. We want out. We've said, hey, we understand. We want to be good partners, protect the long-term relationship. Why don't we just look at phase 1? And so we've encouraged those that have wanted out to just opt out of phase 1, and then let us revisit in phase 2. And by segmenting the year like that, we've had great success keeping people engaged, as opposed to having them disengage for an entire year and not getting their intention back until later in 2021. So that's been an effective strategy for us. We've obviously rolled out a lot of other strategies in regards to contracts. We rolled out an amendment early on, which gave our suite owners guarantees heading into this next year to give them confidence, where we gave them an event guarantee and then a very transparent process of how they would get refunds or credits back should we not hit that event guarantee. And then in addition, for that amendment, we did extensions on top of that, and we had an 85% take rate on additional 1-year extension that we rolled out with this amendment, which was great. So there's a few things we did, and then we've tried to get creative with how we've kept engaged and had touch points with our clients. That's been a lot of fun to try and come up with different ideas to do that as well.
Cool. And the quick follow-up question is, how did you decide who those 1,500 fans or those 1,500 seats, which fans you would offer those to?
Yeah, so we tried to over communicate from the beginning that it's very unlikely that you'll attend all or even 3/4 or maybe even half of the games to start in phase 1 and phase 2. And so we set that expectation early as to not disappoint. But what we've done is we've taken into account tenure and spend. So we obviously we have various partners that are our largest spenders, we call champion partners, that we wanted to make sure that we took care of. And also seats that had the highest yield. Obviously, that was part of minimizing financial exposure. We wanted to take care of some of those clients. And then after that, we went immediately to tenure and have started filling seats and requests based off of tenure. And there's a lot of people that want to come to games that aren't going to be able to come to games, unfortunately, early on. But the goal is to get as many people as possible to a game. And then after we get as many people to a game, to get people the opportunity to come to multiple games. And so far, the people have been very understanding. Like Nick said, I mean, we've never been through something like this before in the sports entertainment industry, at least in the last 20, 30 years. And so we found it pretty amazing how understanding clients have been as we try to work through this together.
So the notion of constant communication and setting expectations, all amid fluctuating staff sizes, is sort of a nice segue to Kelly. ALSD is trying to keep an eye on what could not only help the premium sales and service staffs now, but also into the future. Vidyard is a video tool for sales and could be used for service teams. So Kelly, can you kick us off by explaining some of the benefits of video?
Sure. So as Chris and Nick kind of have both spoken to it, relationships are key in sales. So using video as a personal medium, so without being able to meet face-to-face, it's a really great way to continue that personal connection. And you can also use it throughout the sales cycle. So from prospecting to relationship management, and it also provides you with a way to stand out in the inbox. I don't know about everyone else on the call, but since the pandemic started, I know the number of emails I've received have been kind of outrageous at points. So it's another way to stand out. Nick's agreeing with me there. I can see that. It's another way to stand out in the inbox and help to drive through and increase your close rates as well. So one cool thing about video, you can also drive the viewer to a specific call to action. So at the end of your video, you could say, okay, register for this event. Or if I'm Chris sending it out, I could say, hey, book some time with me at the end of this call if you want to talk about your last experience. So a number of different ways you can keep them engaged and connected. And you can also track the viewers with Vidyard and send tailored follow-up. So be able to see how long they watch the video and send a follow-up note following up after that. And another piece we've found that has worked really well internally for us as well is using video to help cut down on meetings and increase productivity. So in addition to all of these emails that we're receiving, we can also kind of flip one of the internal meetings and say, hey, here's an update on our sales pipeline for the week. Here are 10 action items, and cancel that meeting for the day. So that's another thing that we've found helpful internally.
On a prior call, Chris, you mentioned that the Jazz have looked at video before. Could you speak to some of the questions that you had about using video specifically for premium sales?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've explored this category for a couple of years now, actually, of jumping into the video messaging platforms. We've hesitated a little bit for a couple reasons. One main one is we had concerns about the professionalism of the videos, knowing that our employees would be communicating with C-level executives, business owners. We wanted to ensure that the quality of the video and the message that was created was very professional and equal to that of the level of the client that they were sharing them with. So that was one of the concerns. I'll tell you, our eyes and minds have been greatly opened to video through this pandemic. I think that one of the positives or silver linings out of this pandemic is going to be that it's pushed technology and pushed our adoption to technologies for several years. And now I don't want to have a call with a client without it being on Zoom because of that face-to-face, that visual interaction. And so our minds have definitely been reopened to the idea and importance of having some sort of video contact and video communication that's more visual and less just audio. And so that's been one of our concerns. And I've talked to Kelly about it a little bit, and maybe Kelly can elaborate on what they're doing on that end.
Sure, that's a great question. So kind of the best part about having one-to-one video is that it's personal. So as I stumble across some of my words in this presentation, in this panel now, that's kind of how it would be in an in-person meeting as well. Some people get nervous. Those are some of the things that come through. So the strategy for making sure it comes across as professional is tailoring the messaging to the CEO. And maybe it's also creating a sales enablement session or training for your team to say, here are the 5 things we want you to hit in the meeting. Here's kind of the setup that would help make it look more professional, and kind of coaching them through what some of those things might look like. So another thing that you could leverage as well, and Chris, I saw this on the Jazz website as well, is you could leverage some of the existing marketing assets. If you want to show, I guess, a different approach instead of a one-to-one video, you could use video in other ways as well. They'll just help kind of break through the clutter. And when you think about the number of emails, say, a CEO would get, that video can help it stand out even more, considering how many that they would get on a regular basis.
I would just note that, and it put a nice big smile on my face as this panel was put together. Kelly, instead of shooting Nick and I an email just saying, "Hi, I'm Kelly," she shot us a video to introduce herself. And I opened up that email, opened the video, and I definitely got a nice grin on my face. It was fun to see her face as opposed to just read her words. And so kudos to you, Kelly. Your own product worked on me personally.
That's what I was going for.
Kelly, I know we're going to get into a few examples and then transition to audience Q&A, but before that, are there any, and you just mentioned a couple, but for folks getting started with video, are there any, quick hitting tips that you have for teams that might be considering something like this?
Sure. Some of the quick ones I would say is just be yourself. So as Chris mentioned in the video I sent through, I just talked a little bit about my background before in sports marketing, and just a way for people to put a face to a name and know that you're not just kind of a robot, if you will, behind an email. Get a good setup. So make sure you have good lighting. Max, you reminded me of this when we got on the Zoom today. So that way everything's coming through okay. And also just look at engagement points that you can try video throughout the sales cycle. So sit down, have a brainstorm with your team, see where places it might work. I'll give you a couple examples here in a minute. And then also think about ways that you can save yourself time. So I gave that example before about maybe having a quick video at the end of the week on a pipeline update or a leadership update. We get those on a weekly basis from our CEO. Or perhaps it's a 60-second how-to video on how to purchase tickets online that is created by one rep, and then they can create a 15-second intro that's personalized for each person moving forward. So like essentially trying to plan ahead in order to save yourself time too. So I think we can probably dig into some of the examples.
Yes. So your colleague put together some example videos, and he might become an ALSD celebrity after this. So Kelly, why don't you intro each video, and then we can play them in the background.
Sure, perfect. So some of the examples, Chris mentioned one, I did kind of like a quick video intro. You could also do a how-to video, how to explain a process, or maybe it's a new FAQ with a team or your organization, or a thank you video. So we pulled together a couple quick examples. The first one is from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I loved this one when it came out. And it's essentially a quick, heartfelt thank you that they put together for their season ticket holders. I'll let you take a peek.
I'm your 2020 pole sitter, Marco Andretti, and I'm up here in Chris Keller's seat, so we miss you here, Chris, this year, and we really hope to see you next year.
Ryan Spear, your seats here in North Vista are great. Thank you for letting me sit in them, and I cannot wait to see you in these grandstands here in next year's Indy 500.
Perfect. Thanks, Max. That was a really great one. It was really engaging, and I don't even know how many times I've watched it just because of how impactful I think it was. And in addition to that, that's one that they would have worked with the marketing team on as well. So we've also pulled together a couple of demos. So from the perspective of the Utah Jazz or the St. Louis Blues, we had one of our awesome reps create a couple demos on what it could look like from a one-to-one perspective. So here's an example we pulled together that's an engagement touch point with suite holders following their experience, and to try and maintain that personal connection.
Hey, thanks for clicking play. My name is Josh Kirkham. I'm one of the ticket executives here for the Utah Jazz. Just curious how your suite experience was with us over that game with the Bulls. Now, from some of the conversations we've had in the past, obviously some really cool aspects we provide in those suites as well. If there's any different changes, different aspects that you would like to see for your next experience, please let us know. We're always happy to accommodate as well. But if you'd be interested in maybe seeing our next game actually against the Heat coming up next week, and you'd like that exact same suite experience for you and the rest of your team, my calendars will be right here at the end of the video. Please let me know how I can help. I'm here to work for you, but excited to see you in the suite next week around.
Perfect. And in the end, you'll see this call to action here, so people can actually go in and click to book time with him. So that's something that works. When we were back in the office, I actually sat not too far from Josh, so I heard his pitch quite often. So he was a celebrity in our office too. The next one is a quick demo on kind of what a next steps video could look like after purchasing. So Josh will walk you through kind of what the suite holder could expect.
Thank you for clicking play, and thank you very much for purchasing your premium seats here through the Enterprise Center. My name is Josh Kirkham. I'm one of the ticket executives here within the St. Louis Blues organization. I just want to quickly run you through next steps in terms of accessing your tickets, where you should see that, and in terms of what you should expect on game days as well moving forward here. So you should see an email, if not, checking your spam filter if you don't see it directly in your inbox, giving you access to your season tickets. If you do have any additional concerns, please feel free to reach out to me directly. All my contact information is just in my email below. But if you don't see that for whatever reason, let me know immediately and I'll make sure to resolve that for us. Now, just diving into the premium seats sections, as we discussed, since your team is looking at the Scott Union Credit Ringside Club seats, just want to give you a quick little rundown again of what this actually entails. So as we actually dive in here.
So he goes into a lot more detail, as you can see there, but it's a really great way to engage them and explain a little bit more. It's very helpful.
Josh may or may not be signing autographs at ALSD 2021. So thank you, Kelly, for that. I like the examples, and I know there's plenty more that we could show. So at the end of this, maybe I'll ask each panelist to tell us how we can get in touch with each of them if you have any further questions. And now we do have a lot of questions from the audience. So one is for specifically Chris, I guess, since you're having fans back, but I'd be curious if Nick has a perspective on this too. It's about single game suite rentals. With a reduced capacity, are you selling single game suites?
Yeah, so we are selling single game suite rentals, and we've quickly found that it's perhaps the most popular offering in the building. And that's because it's a private, secluded space from everywhere else. People's comfort level in a suite is much greater than in the bowl seating where social distance seating is taking place. And so our single game suite nights are priced between $2,500 and $4,500 for a 6-person suite. There is a lot of demand, and so we're able to get a good premium on those. Now, a couple things is the food and beverage experience is very different. And so there's some challenges there with having suite attendants going suite to suite. That's not allowed in the NBA for possible spread. And so for phase 1 and phase 2 of our plan, our suites will not have suite attendants. And so they're ordering from a limited menu. It's cold items only. They're placed in their suites well before the event starts. And then they don't have any in-suite service. But then we're supplementing that food and beverage experience with what we call Jazz Notes. It's a digital currency that we utilize. And they can utilize those Jazz Notes through the Jazz app the same way they'll get their digital ticket and then go down onto our concourse to purchase hot food from any of our available vendors there to supplement their suite experience. It's not ideal. It's not the same in-suite service they're used to, but it's better than nothing. And it's gotten people excited about still doing suite nights. The other thing that's been nice about the single game suite rentals is for those suite owners during phase 1 that are uncomfortable attending games, even at the 25% capacity, we've been able to flip their suites to a single night rental and utilize those fairly quickly. Because we're not having fans within the first 30 feet of the court, a lot of times in our venues, those are the people that are most excited and want to come to games the most. They're our most passionate fans. And so they want to get to the arena and watch the live game any way they can. And so we've offered our single game suites out to those people that have seats within the first 30 rows. And the desire for those has been very high from those clients.
Nick, how about you? And obviously you're starting off the season out west for at least 14 games, but are you thinking about this in new business in general?
Yeah, obviously we hope to have attendance and get approvals from our local officials. Thing we've talked about and many of our reps have gotten to hit on what Chris just said is a lot of our premium account holders that are maybe closer to the ice, longer tenure clients, older clients, if you will, that maybe have underlying conditions. They've approached us. Hey, can I buy 5-10 games, what have you, with my family and sit in suites? So we would definitely want to look at an avenue like that. We'd probably package them up for them to sell more at one time. But in the same token, you want to try and let as many fans have a chance to come into the building. So we would envision selling single game suites for sure.
Kelly, the next one's for you, and it relates to tracking. As salespeople, you have that good phone call, they've expressed an interest, then they go into the abyss, and maybe they call you back, maybe they don't. And sometimes when they call you back, they say, I was still just as interested, but I've been busy in the meantime. So sometimes tracking helps with that. Does Vidyard have tracking capabilities?
Yes, we definitely do. We have video view insights. So you're able to look at a number of different pieces. And if you have Salesforce as well, it can integrate into there. So you can take a look at how long people are watching. So when the drop off is, so if you need to make any adjustments to your videos to shorten them, any things like that. And you're also able to identify who was watching them. So if I'm sending it out to a group of people and I see that Nick has watched it for 100%, I might target a follow-up message to Nick. Whereas maybe if Chris doesn't open it at all, maybe I change up my approach for him next time.
So a lot of questions under the common interest of benefits under the reduced season, how you're enhancing the benefits. Chris and Nick, who wants to speak first to that as far as on a reduced season, do you do anything for season ticket holders to portray increased benefits and provide increased benefits?
Sure, I'll jump in. So one, just to start off, once again, we've tried to over communicate as much as we can to set expectation early, as opposed to making mistakes or having the experience or the benefits not be great and then having the complaints afterwards. So that would be my first thing, is just really over communicate now. And set those expectations. And if I hate to say this, but if you have to set them low, then set them low so they can be impressed as opposed to unimpressed later on. And I think that people just right now are extremely understanding. And so we need to capitalize on that and take advantage in the midst of the pandemic when people are very understanding. So a couple of things that we've done is we got some buy-in from our two top players, Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. And any of our members that committed to retain credits with us or stick through this year with us, we did a huge campaign where they got an autographed Donovan Mitchell or Rudy Gobert jersey that we mailed out to each of them individually as a thank you for your commitment through these tough times. People loved that. The other thing we did is we rolled out a campaign where we did a nominate a local hero, where they could nominate a healthcare worker, a parent who maybe is, trying to, raise kids while schools are closed, whatever it might be, is nominate someone who's been a hero during this pandemic. And then we had our mascot, Jazz Bear, go out and personally deliver autographed basketball shoes to these heroes. And we gave one of the shoes to the person that was nominated and one of the shoes to the client that nominated the person, and kind of brought them together. So that was a fun little benefit and perk that our members jumped on and liked. So we've tried to get creative in those different ways. And then ultimately, like I said, is when it comes to money or refunds or credits back, we've just tried to take the approach of don't damage relationships now and preserve them for the future. And so when in question and someone has challenged us about a benefit or payments or anything, we've tried to err on the side of the client, and it's paid off for us.
And Nick, you sort of touched on earlier, and you can elaborate on it, but with your multi-year contracts too.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of backtrack just a little bit, some of the things we've started from the get-go. Obviously, we knew we were going to be playing in a bubble. So we went out to our season ticket holders, anybody that was a season ticket holder, and even went to our different plan holders, partial plans as well. And a big thing in St. Louis, and just like many other cities, is the playoff rally towel. So the first thing we did is it was a letter from our ownership group and then our captain or key players on the team, just saying, we wish we were playing in front of you, no matter where you're at, wave your rally towel. So that was something we started with. But from continued messaging to checking on how they are, everything we did, though, in my opinion, and like why I think the client, Chris is right. The client is understanding more than ever, but you want to do what you can for the business. I mean, this is who we work for, right? But you'll want to do what's right for the person. And we've always tried to take that approach. We want to do what's in best interest and do what's right. So that was something we continually do right now. The other thing I would add is in terms of the benefits, we're coming out with a commemorative 10 that all of our season ticket holders and half season plan holders are going to eventually get. That's going to be a little bit above and beyond. We have a commemorative kind of a ticket thing. Who knows? Somebody's going to want to keep 2020 maybe forever. This is such a unique year in itself. We've also, just like many of us, have reached out to Zoom and got a larger corporate clientele account. So every Wednesday we have player Q&A with our season ticket holders. For our premium season ticket holders, we did a cooking class with our executive chef on staff where you could purchase the meal. They would send it to your house and cook with our chef. And we had one of our key announcers that was a part of that. For the postseason, if I remember correctly, we had situations where coaches would pop on, talk about almost like a press conference the next day. Just that behind the curtain feel that, you felt like an exclusive member of something, even though you weren't able to attend. So those were the things. And, as we approach this year, hopefully, knock on wood, we can have fans. But if we can't, we got to find a way to make them feel unique. And as part of a situation, we've talked about different membership ideas, whether maybe it's a monthly opportunity for them to purchase. But, those are the things we've tried to institute.
Thanks, Nick. This one may specifically be addressed to Chris. With your pause/credit amendments that have been executed with your partners, if the pause date unfortunately passes, has the service team thought through next steps to adjust? Would both an additional pause and or proration be considered?
Yeah, that's a great thought. So we didn't necessarily actually do a direct pause or a gap year, as a lot of people have called it in the NBA. We wanted to, as part of our plan to try and minimize financial exposure, we wanted to retain as much dollars for this year in the event that we were able to open it up to more and more fans or have some sort of capacity. And so we did kind of a hybrid between a pause and an extension, where for this COVID 2021 year, we did a proration guarantee, is what we called it. And so as opposed to pausing their contract, we put some very specific guarantees that we would hit for them in the terms of events and value that they would receive. And then if they didn't receive that value, we had very aggressive and transparent refund and credit outlines as to what they would get back or what they would actually be paying for. And so as we had those conversations, we personally called and had a Zoom face-to-face meeting with every single contracted premium client. And during those conversations, they were more than pumped to stay committed to us this year, knowing that they were only going to pay for the value they received. And we agreed to terms in which they felt confident in the value we were promising. And so we also rolled out, as part of that amendment, more of a pay-as-you-go plan, which gave them confidence. So as opposed to paying everything up front like we usually require, we said, here's the value we're guaranteeing. And oh, by the way, you don't have to pay for that value up front all at once. You're going to pay as you go. And so we did a 25% in December, another 25% in February, and then a reconciliation based on the projected number of events in March. And they would at that time pay the remaining projected balance of their contract value. So that's how we addressed this year. And then on top of it, the way we pitched and sold it was, hey, we understand a lot of our members feel cheated or like they missed out on a full year this year, and heck, even a full year the previous year. So because of that, we're going to offer you a 1-year extension and at a flat rate where we don't have to renegotiate terms. And so to make up for the missed year, the lost time, they're still paying for that year, but people jumped all over that because, one is they knew that this year they were going to pay significantly less than they normally do. And so they were able to sell their companies or themselves on the fact of, hey, we can go ahead and extend, knowing that our investment is going to be much less this year. So we saved revenues for this year to some extent, and then we're able to tack on additional extensions. And so it was a win-win, we thought, for both parties, as opposed to like an actual dramatic pause, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's good to know. And we are coming up on time here, so we'll maybe only take it a couple more minutes to the 45 mark. But as a follow-up to that one for Nick, and then I'll have one more for Kelly. Nick, are there any differences in how the Blues are thinking about pauses if the date passes?
No, I mean, when we called our clients originally just for the 1920 plan, we wanted to obviously finalize that year, work on whatever type of credit strategy they would be getting for the unplayed hockey games. We actually luckily didn't have too many non-hockey events we missed out on. There were a handful. And then we try to work with them on that. Then moving forward, what we kind of did from our credit strategy is the duration of their agreement. So let's say a company has a 3-year deal. Whatever credits we were offering for the unplayed games, you're able to utilize those for the next 2 years remaining on your 3-year agreement. So it wasn't like we're forcing you to do it automatically right away the following year. So it was a way for us to kind of actually leverage it and get them to sign even longer term, because now I can use my credits a little bit longer, which, has worked for us. And then, I think that moving forward, what we told them is we didn't necessarily get into an agreement in terms of count, because we were afraid it might hinder us down the road, saying, hey, well, if you agreed this year, so now moving forward, we need to institute that. We told them, this is what you've maintained. We feel comfortable about it. And if not, we will basically deduct that from your plan the following year off. So, and that's why I think we had a lot more people pay us 100% in full too, as well. So.
And Kelly, this one might be a short answer, and then I'll ask you to let people know how they can get in touch with you, and same to Nick and Chris. What's the main intended distribution channel for videos done through Vidyard as the sunlight creeps in on my face?
Great question. So what I would say is it depends on what channel you're wanting to send it through. So you can embed it on your website. You can send it via email. We have integrations with Gmail, Outlook, and a number of different offerings. You can also send it directly from our platform or to social and things like that. The examples that Josh showed, he actually did that with our free Chrome extension. So you're able to add the extension onto your Chrome and essentially just create a quick video from there. And then you can even send it in from the platform. So it depends on, it's very flexible in the way that you want to use it. But in the way, some of the examples we're sending, we were showcasing more through email.
Got it. And way to get in touch with you?
I'll pop my LinkedIn in the chat just so everyone can see it.
Cool. Nick, Chris, best way to get in touch?
I think I'm going to follow what Kelly did. That's probably the easiest way to do it. I just want Max and Amanda, thanks for putting this together and reaching out to me. And then Chris, can't wait to see how things go in Utah. Can't wait to see you guys hopefully jump up in attendance over time as things get a little bit more regular. I don't know if it'll be regular anytime in the near future, but eventually over time. And Kelly, I think the guy that works for you might have a job lined up pretty soon. So great meeting you.
You as well. Thank you so much, Max. Appreciate your time, Chris and Nick.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks to the panelists. We're excited as fans start to come back, and please reach out to ALSD if we can help you find any information. And otherwise, have a great day, and thanks again for tuning in.